We'll start in just a minute. Okay, I think it's time now for us to start. I'm gonna share my screen, just a second. Okay. Just keep an eye here on our participants if someone shows up. Yeah, I don't see anyone in the waiting room, so okay, thank you everyone for coming to our information session. We are talking about the new course, the new Institute of the Oceans and Fisheries course, Introduction to Aquatic Data Sciences. My name is Vicente Regis, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm part of this team who developed the course, and here we have our subject matter specialist, Dr. Maria Lourdes Deng Palomares, and also Dr. Gabriel Reygondeau. First of all, I would like to acknowledge that this presentation takes place in the traditional territories of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Playatu Nation, and it's an honor to be here in this land. So our course, Introduction to Aquatic Data Sciences, it's part of a bigger program, a micro-credential called Analytics for Leaders in Ocean Management. We are still developing the next courses of this program. So we'll have a series of courses that people can take and build micro certificates so they can move on their careers. Okay, so there are more news to come. This is just the first one, and there will be more news very soon. So this program is a no-credential program offered by the IOS, Institute for the Oceans and Fisheries, in partnership with UBC Extended Learning. Okay, and we're talking about the blue economy. So the blue economy is a series of factors that relates to the coast and to the ocean. So, and also to fresh water as well. So we're talking about the fisheries, aquaculture, shipping, marine renewable energy, and tourism. So those are examples of industry that all compose the blue economy. So it is a strategically selected sector being developed by Canada and other countries as well. So we all know the importance of the fisheries and the blue economy, and also the relationships to climate change and to every population. So it's very important the use of data also to improve the management of this industry. So we know that there will be more and more interest about that for the future. Okay. So the UBC Micro Certificate in Analytics for Leaders in Ocean Management. It's a part-time online program. Everything will be online, which enables students to build their analytics knowledge and create solutions for sustainable, equitable development and management of blue economy conservation. Okay? And so as the first course of this micro-credential, we have Introduction to Aquatic Data Sciences. And to speak about the course, we have Maria Lourdes Palomares here and also Gabriel Reygondeau. So they're going to talk to us about the module. Okay. And after the modules, there will be some questions and answers. So feel free to, after our presentation, to unmute and to ask any questions, and we're going to reply them to the best of our knowledge. Okay. Thank you so much for your presence. So Deng, would you please take on now?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Vicente, for the introduction. So the first module of this course would focus on the intricacies of aquatic databases, over 2 weeks. So we will be talking about databases, the fundamental aspects of these tools for aquatic research. Next, please. The first week, we will provide you with an introduction to understanding database infrastructure. Infrastructure is not the structure of the database, but it's the overall culture that was built by users and the developers together. So what is this infrastructure? And we are very fortunate to have Dr. Rob Guralnik from the Florida Museum of Natural History to teach that first week, to take you into the structure of aquatic databases or the infrastructure of aquatic databases, how they came about, and how they could be effectively used for research and conservation. And the second week, we will have a lecture from Dr. Nicolas Bailly, who is working at the BT Biodiversity Museum. And this will be taking you to the taxonomy of global species databases. Basically, these 2 weeks will provide you with information on training on what are the foundations that we need in order to build aquatic databases. Next, please. The second module is then going from what is a species database with respect to what are the biological and ecological information that are associated with species. So your first week will be, what are these? And then what and where do they belong? But then how do they live? What do they eat? How fast do they grow? And all of those traits will be say we will bring you into that world of traits databases. Next, please. So for week 3, we basically weeks 3 and 4, I will be taking you into the what we call information systems, which have traits and habitat information. And the third week will be about using specific, this is navigating, using the structure of fish base and sea life base so that you understand how this traits and ecological information are assigned to the species. And then in week 4, we will be diving into fish base and sea life base so you know where things are and you can extract information from these 2 information systems. And that will be my 4 weeks with you. The next weeks you will spend with Dr. Gabriel Reygondeau, professor, who will take over now.
Thank you, Deng. So my name is Gabriel Reygondeau, and I'm professor at UBC and in the University of Miami. And my background is in biogeography. That's where basically I'm going to teach you stuff. So basically the module 3 is about oceanography and how to divide the ocean. Basically, we always talk about ecosystem, basin, different oceans, but why? What are the difference, and how can you go from the macro scale, so the globe, and you can downscale and understand what is an ecosystem, what makes this ecosystem different to another one. So in order to do that, we're going to have 2 weeks. Next slide. We're going to have 2 weeks. The first week, general lecture, where I'm going to introduce the basics of the physics, the oceanography, the linkage between the life form and the physical rules. And in week 6, it's more going to be data driven. So where can you find this information? how can you download and use this information in your day-to-day life? Like, if you want to have the temperature of a certain EZ, let's say Canada, where can you find this information? How can I download it? And how can I transform this data to your own project? And then in the next week, so next module, we're going to do distribution. So where and why species are where they are. And in order to do that, I'm going to introduce to you the concept of biogeography and the concept of biodiversity in the marine realm, and introduce to you how we model. Usually you're seeing, when you're Googling the name of a species, you see a species distribution. How do we go from observation in front of UBC, for example, to a map of distribution of these species? And so we're going to do that in 2 weeks. So please, can you change the slide? The first week is giving you the fundamental of species distribution modeling. So it sounds fancy, but basically it's how mathematically you can link the environment with the species, and you can make a response curve. How a species will respond to temperature, for example. Is it a warm species, a cold species, and how can you make that mathematically and in an easy way? And then in week 8, we're going to deep dive in those distribution model and try to tell you and teach you how to know if a model is good or is not good, and so that you have a critical view of what you're finding on the internet or in the data source that you can download on your computer. And then I give the mic back to Vicente.
Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you very much. So just to speak about the last module, the idea is that like all the students, they can bring back all this knowledge to their own community of practice. So we know that we have students from many different backgrounds, and it makes sense that students can think about all this knowledge and how they can apply that. Like we have people who will be working in different areas of the blue economy, or wanting to work in different areas of the blue economy. There will be in a diversity of places in Canada, or maybe somewhere else, like also outside of Canada. So what we are suggesting is that students prepare a personal reflection, so in which they would tell the other students how this knowledge can be applied in their own life. And we suggest students record a 5-minute video for that. But there are other formats as well. People could like record audios, or they could do also slide presentations if the video is not, they are not comfortable with the video by any reason. So the course we'll have assessment. That's a requirement for micro certificate. And the only assignment is this final assignment, which counts for 75% of the final grade, and the remaining 25% is participation, because we're going to have lectures every week, and like people are expected to engage somehow, so we can make sure people are understanding. We know that people won't have many issues to pass the course. It's not about that. We know we're working with very busy professionals that like we know people, but like that's very important for the microcertification as well. So I think we got to the end of our presentation. I'm going to stop share my screen. And now we open the floor for any questions you might have. Please feel free to send your questions through the chat, or you can also unmute yourself, and we reply to the best of our knowledge. Let me see the chat. I don't see anyone. Okay, one new message here. So Matt has a question. Who do you see as the ideal student? And what background, stage of career, etc.? So Matt, I can give my personal view on this one, and Gabriel and Deng, please feel free to add your comments as you like. I we are thinking about a diversity array of students, right? Like I think we, as I said, like we know our students is going to be very different. We know that blue economy is a wide sector, but we understand that like students are like interested in learning how to apply the data sciences for the use of the databases and for the field of the ocean management. It's very important. Of course, it's ideal to us that like students are present in the course somehow. We're gonna have a virtual meeting etiquette, with like it means like to be respectful with each other. We expect people to see the asynchronous activities, the exercises and things we are offering. Like this is a course for working professionals. We know people are busy, so students are expected to commit something like 4 hours per week, like including everything. Like so this is more our expectation. Gabriel and Deng, do you have anything to add on this one?
Honestly, it's a wide question.
Yeah.
What how do you would you see as a perfect student somebody interested? Simply, if you're interested in the ocean, in distribution and fish, you're a perfect student. But background stage of career, to be fair, in background, you have professor that doesn't understand anything about that data and are still professor, or professional that are extremely good in coding and doesn't understand anything in ecology. So it's kind of a biased question. So if you're interested in learning about all these data that are available online on marine life and oceanography, you're suited to do that. And to answer the second question, honestly, the database so the question is, what kind of job will this course permit us to pursue, or will we need to take more course to get a degree? So the second part, I let it to each of them. The first one, what kind of job? To be honest, we're just gonna give you access to data that most of the labs and most of the NGOs or the government are using. So basically for evaluation of stocks, for evaluation of biodiversity, for mapping, like if you're working for let's say for tourism industry and you want to map the biodiversity of something, you need to learn where to find those data and how to map them. So basically, yeah, we're just going to give you tools and you do what you want with those tools. Then after, your creativity is the limiting factor.
Yeah, thank you, Gabriel. And Marjorie, for the second part of your question, the rules in UBC are, so this is a non-credential course, right? So the type of credential that we are given, it's called a micro certificate. So first of all, this first course has 36 hours of learning activities. So then we are gonna get, when you get more 14 hours in a second course, then you're gonna get the full micro certificate. So for the first course, you're gonna get a badge as a certification. So UBC issues that. We're gonna issue a badge for you, and when you take another course, then you're gonna get the micro certificate, the whole program micro certificate. Okay.
Maybe I could just add that the ideal student is a student who is looking for how to get data and how to use the data that are available in the databases that we will discuss about. And so that we will have examples. For example, FishBase and Sea Life Base are global information systems which contain taxonomy as well as life history traits. And most of the time, the life history traits of species are used for management purposes. So right there, if you are working with an NGO or with a government, for instance, and you are looking at finding data for species in your area of management, then this is a course for you. So that's basically the kind of students I would personally expect to have in this course. Basically, these are people who are already doing something in the field, and if these are students, this could be graduate students who are whose study area is in the oceans, and most likely with questions to respond to that have something to do with, for example, what Gabriel is going to go into, ecosystem or modeling, ecological modeling or mapping. Where do you find the species? In what ecological or habitats do you find the species? And you can map those. And what Gabriel is going to teach people is how to map those. Where do you get all of the data that you need to map those species? There you go.
Thank you, Deng. Thank you, Gabriel. Yes, like the people who are willing, who are looking to work as, like, for example, marine biologists or oceanographers or ecologists, environmental scientists, fisheries managers, data scientists. Those are all professions that we know they're gonna profit a lot from taking the course. So that's one thing also to mention more specific. Also very important to say that, like, each course gives a badge. So there will be a second course in this program, and they will give a badge as well. And then there will be a third badge for taking the two courses and getting the micro certificate. So those are all badges that you can put on LinkedIn, for example, that you can put your platform, that you can mention in your curriculum as well. We are looking for jobs in the areas in the blue economy. Okay. So does anyone have any other questions? Okay, I don't see any other questions in the chat. So, well, I think that's all. Deng and Gabriel, do you have any final comments?
Yeah, Deng, do you want to start? Okay. Yeah, so we created that lecture so that basically when I was a student and when Deng was a student, we learned all the basic stuff, all the theories, and when we arrive to the modeling or to actually what we are doing every day, that our day-to-day life and our job, we had to learn everything that we're going to teach today. So we thought that creating a lecture that is actually giving you the tools that people like Deng and I, who are working for NGO, for a university, for government, for international reports, basically this is our day-to-day life tools that we are giving you. So we save you some years of learning curve here. But that's the idea behind that course. Something way more practical.
Yeah, so it's basically when we have new students here at the Institute for the Oceans and Fisheries, the first thing that they would ask about is, what are the tools and the skills that we need so we can get the data that we need for our thesis, right? So this this course responds to that question. And yeah, so and because so the students, they would come to me, they would ask me, how do you get this data, right? So, and as Gabrielle was saying, I am in this business of databases for over 40 years now. I started way back in the 1980s when databases were not even built yet. And so and the questions that we responded to by building this database has now made it easy for researchers and students in all over the world to get data so they can respond to their questions. And so this is why we thought that offering this course, which is not really something that could be in a curriculum at the institute, because it is practical. It really has the added value being that when students come to me or to Gabriel to ask us, how do you do it? Right. So if we did it in a course, then eh, other people outside of our institute can actually benefit from it. And that's why this is a course now.
Thank you, Deng. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you so much. So thank you, everyone. Please don't forget about the Future Skills Grant. We still have a few spots for people who are interested to take the course. So I'm going to circulate an email for everyone that registered for the info session. I'm going to send the recording also of our session today, and also some information about the grant. And also you guys have all information about how to register for the course, I'm sure, but I will send that on the email as well. Okay. So it was a pleasure being with you. Thank you so much, Gabriel and Deng, for your time here. And thank you so much who attended. Thank you. I see some mentions in the chat. Thank you a lot. Tell about the course to your friends as well if they're interested, and hope to see you guys in November. Okay? Have a good night, everyone. Take a good rest. Thank you. Thank you, Serena. Thank you, everyone.